All right, time for some fun. When I say fun, I mean scientific experiments. What kind of scientific experiment? Intakes. What kind of experiment with intakes? Over the years, there's been plenty of debates as to if a cold air makes a difference or if Ram Air is better or whatever. So we're just gonna try to see if we can see a difference. So we've got our otherwise stock Grand Am here. Basically, on the GTs, you have this Ram Air system. So it draws air from down in the fender and then through these guys. There's really no science behind it. There's no explaining behind it. It's just kind of there. I'm not an expert, but I can take data, compare it, and share it. We're gonna do that. We'll do averages for gas mileage. We'll take a look at the intake air temps, and then just for fun, we'll do a 0 to 60. I don't know what the old girls got in there, but probably not a lot. We'll do stock version first. We'll do a cold air setup, and then finally we'll do a short ram setup just like this. I'm gonna go probably 100 to 125 miles each time and then fill it back up. Use that for our averages on gas mileage. And then for 0 to 60, to keep that consistent, I've got one road that's flat, straight, and isolated off to the side, so I can use that same road for the same test there. Let's go fill up and get this started, and hopefully we get something from this. Because, yeah, so OEM 0 to 60. Cold air, 0 to 60. All right, so now it's time to switch up again. And so I'm gonna get rid of all this, and we're just gonna run what's called a short ram. Others call it a warm air intake. Call it what you want. It's literally gonna go from here, and we're gonna stick the cone right on the MAF. Really simple to put together, so I won't worry about doing a whole, here's how you do it. Get under your parts store. Get yourself a couple 3-inch couplers. Get one of these pieces. I think they call it like a sensor insert or something like that, but basically it's about 3 inches long, 3 inches diameter, and you want at least 2 holes for your intake sensor and your PCV tube. Same thing with the cone. 3-inch. You can even go with 3.5-inch to help. The 3-inch is really tough to get on there. This is actually measuring out to about 3.25. So, but you can see it's possible. It's on there. That's really all there is to it. I also want to note, I don't think I mentioned this, that every time I change the intake, I also unhook the battery to reset the fuel trims. So let's talk about what we just watched. I'm gonna group this together as exact test versus each setup. I'm actually surprised that there was as much different as there was. We'll start with miles per gallon. Stock, we saw 22.26. The cold air, we saw 22.66. And with the short ram, we had 21.93. We see the gain through the cold air, and you see the loss with your short ram, but you're only losing not even a mile per gallon. So we'll move on to intake temp. I took this at about 60 miles an hour, and I took the temp after cruising for a little bit, so to kind of simulate being on the highway for a while, so the best possible intake variance we're gonna see. So stock with ambient air at 51, our intake was at 59. Cold air with an ambient temp of 47, our intake was 51. Cold air is doing what it's supposed to. And then the short ram, with an ambient temp of 51, we were seeing an intake temp of 63. So there's your downfall with your short ram, or as I call it, the warm air intake. I will note, if you sat at like say a red light, that temp shot up, but as soon as I would start moving, it would drop really quick and go right back down to that low 60. Let's go with 0 to 60s next. So stock, we saw 9.78. Cold air, we saw 8.3. And with the short ram, we saw 9.1. Now, the numbers I have here are what I was getting off of HP Tuners. They have like a little timer there, and I was able to go from when the speed started, you know, to exactly 60 miles an hour. So let's talk about that. Right off the bat, cold air should stick out. Almost a second off 0 to 60. And then if you look at the short ram, you shaved half a second there. So then lastly, I looked at mass airflow readings. And obviously with a bigger pipe, you should be moving a little bit more air. So what I did is I took the pounds per minute reading on the mass airflow at 5,000 RPM. So basically where my peak was right before I would shift. So wide open, moving as much as that engine can at that moment. So stock, 15.08 pounds per minute. Cold air was 15.68 pounds per minute. Okay, a little bit of increase there. This one's gonna blow your mind. The short ram, 16.52 pounds per minute. So with the shorter pipe, I'm guessing that's where we're getting the extra airflow. But I'll stick to what I've always pretty much said, is there's really not much difference between the intakes. You're not gonna be gaining any kind of horsepower or whatever. Nothing you're really gonna probably notice. I will say the cold air and the short ram make some cool noises. Here's what I watched when I talk about doing the scans. This is HP Tuner scanner. One thing I'm gonna look into, and I'm kind of confused, is if you noticed, if my foot's to the floor, there's nothing underneath of it. Look at my throttle, and then look at where my shift point was. And then my throttle never gets over, this one was 70, and I think one of the other ones was 73. Really not sure what's going on there. So, blend this off right there. I'm definitely pleased. This was a lot of fun. I went into this thinking I wasn't gonna see anything and it was gonna kind of be let down, but yeah, hopefully this can settle some age-long battles and whatnot, and somebody can take some stuff away from this. Car's back to stock. Moving on to the next thing, which is gonna be that guy. We got ourselves a little Flowmaster here. I don't know that I'm gonna go into any kind of great detail. I'm at least gonna do a sound comparison. Starting with stock, we'll do a couple of different setups with stock, drive-bys, bumper mounts, whatever. I'll do a muffler delete one, because there's a lot of people that ask what that even sounds like. So we'll do that, and then we'll go ahead and toss our Flowmaster on there. Any questions, obviously let me know. There's gonna be a cold air install video coming up. That's gonna be standalone. I haven't really pondered on it too much because I got all kinds of other stuff going on, but let me know what kind of other minor upgrades that I can do a comparison with. Having the daily, it could be a good tool to use to really, you know, test out certain things. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.